Hey, Julie Lawson here. Welcome back. I am talking today about commitments. Now, I know it's the beginning of 2022, so many of you are setting goals. You're looking at what your resolutions were last year, wondering why you didn't achieve them, setting new ones. But wherever you are in this process, you are probably forward thinking. That's what we tend to do at the beginning of the year, particularly in our professional lives, where we're setting metrics and goals and expectations for the next 90 days, 6 months, year, whatever it may be. And so as we think about how we set those goals, I know it's very common to think about SMART goals, to look to the internet, to books, to courses, to say, what keeps us from achieving those goals, how to set the right kind of goals, how to project manage those goals. There's a ton out there on all of that. That's great. I want you to have all of that. But what I want you to also think about is what you are committed to. So let me explain what I mean by that word commitment. When we say that word, we tend to think of things like a marriage or a partnership of some sort. That's an absolutely accurate use of that word, because what it's saying is you have now dedicated yourself to something in mind, body, spirit, into perpetuity, in whatever the terms of that commitment or that relationship is. The problem I have with how we think about commitments is we tend to think about it in the language of commitment. So I'm committed to you. I'm committed to this job. I'm committed to being a good parent, whatever it is. We tend to think of those terms in what we are intending to do with it. It's language based. But what we forget is that what we are committed to is what we do. We are literally what we do. And so to say, I'm committed to being a healthy person, for example, doesn't really work for us if we don't get enough sleep and if we don't eat the right foods and if we never exercise. Those kind of things don't really contribute to what would make us a healthy person. So to say I'm committed to losing weight or to being a healthy person doesn't necessarily match the behavior. And as soon as we have that breakdown between the behavior and what our intention is or the commitment is, we have distrust. So when we say to ourselves, I'm committed to being a good leader, I'm committed to being a good team member, I'm committed to being a good partner, I'm committed to being a good parent, what does that mean to us? And are we following those commitments up with particular language? Are we being specific about what that means to us? Let me give you an example. If I say, I am committed to being a good team member, but I can't tell you what I've done to make that so, there's a problem. Or if I say I'm committed to getting you that report by next Friday, but I don't get it to you until Tuesday and I've not given you any reason. Of course, there are times that we can't live up to our commitments for very good reason. And it may be that I got sick or I didn't have the information I needed for the report or I was out of the office taking care of a family issue. Whatever it is, it may be very, very legitimate. That's managing that commitment. So that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, I told you I'd get you something by Friday and it's Tuesday before I get it to you. And I haven't really given you any reason, and maybe I don't have one, for why I didn't do that. That lack of living up to the word, the mismatch between what I said and what I'm doing is the amount of distrust you're going to experience with me. So let me say that again. The space between what we say we will do and what we actually do is the amount of distrust that we experience in our relationships. So it may be a small gap that I created between Friday and Tuesday, not getting you the report on time, but it may be a really big gap if I do that on a continual basis. Or if I say I'm committed to being a good team member, but I never show up and I never put in extra hours and I never help you with anything, it may be that my language is not matching my commitments. There is a lot we can talk about externally with that in terms of our relationships with other people. What I want you to think about today is, what is your relationship with yourself about your commitments? So what I mean by that is if I say to myself, I'm committed to getting better sleep. That's going to be one of my resolutions for 2022. I'm going to make sure that I get a good night's sleep. But am I living into that? Am I going to bed at a reasonable time? Am I stopping caffeine after 8 p.m. or so? Am I eating the right foods to get the sleep? Am I making sure that I have a dark and comfortable room with no screens on when I go to bed? Am I using devices like a CPAP machine, for example, if I have sleep apnea? Those are the kind of things I need to be doing that demonstrate I'm actually committed to this idea of getting better sleep by this example. If I don't do those things, I'm letting myself down. And we forget to give credit to how much we distrust ourselves in this process. So every time we say, I'm committed to living a healthy life, but I fail to do it, I'm creating that space of distrust. So what might be better for me is I'm committed to living as healthy a life as is reasonable given my busy schedule. Then I can forgive every once in a while when I have to stop and get fast food. No one has to get fast food, but I like it. Or I can forgive myself when I fail to do something that I said I was going to do in the exact way that I said I was going to do it. In other words, really getting real with what I can commit to, what I think is reasonable, what's achievable, and then actually doing those things. If I am committed to being a particular type of parent, I'm going to be able to demonstrate that in observable behavior. I'm going to be able to go back in the last, 2 weeks and say, these are the things I think made me an attentive parent, made me a good parent. These are the things that I thought, that I did that to me meant I was committed to being a good parent, and said that to my children or to, to my partner who may be looking for that. So these are the kind of things that I want you to think about in terms of how you frame that commitment around you. If you can't come up with those behaviors, you likely are not, you're not identifying them, you're not noticing the things you're doing, or you're not really in a space of true commitment to that particular idea. There's nothing to be shameful about that. In other words, if I say I'm committed to being a good coworker, but I can't really get any evidence of that, that's okay. What that says to me is I either need to pay more attention to my behavior and be able to identify those things, or I need to start to question, what do I think it means to be a good coworker? And is that my highest priority, or is doing my own best job my highest priority? Not that those are mutually exclusive, but you get what I'm saying. Where I'm going with this is making sure that the words that we say match what the delivery of the outcome is, so that even for ourselves, we create that sense of trust and self-awareness where we're very in tune with what we're doing and why we're doing it. So I have some homework for you. As you're thinking about setting these goals, setting these habit changes and resolutions for the next 12 months, I want you to think about why you're doing it. It's difficult to be committed to something that isn't our dream, and it happens every day. We've got perhaps a child who's interested in something that just really isn't our thing, or we've got a boss who says we're going to go forward with this project, and it really might not be something that impassions us or that we're dedicated to. So we have to choose the higher thing, the higher why. And that higher why behind that commitment might be, I'm going to be the best parent I can be, or I'm going to be the best colleague and an employee that I can be. And therefore, I'm going to make this dream mine. I'm going to be dedicated to it the same way. We can also do that with little things. Like I said, sleep, eating patterns, losing weight, all of those things that tend to be our New Year's resolutions. We have to identify what behaviors we think match that commitment. And so if I am committed to living a healthy life, what does that look like to me? What's my checklist for those behaviors? And can I match that to my day-to-day behavior? In other words, can I look back on the last 5 days and say, overall I did eat pretty healthy. I had a little ice cream, but I also had salads and lean meats and vegetables and made sure that I didn't overdo carbs, whatever it is. You can look back and see the impact you've made towards that particular commitment. If you say that you're committed to something and you're not doing it, you're not committed to it. It's just empty words. And it's going to be empty words to yourself too. And so that's the focus of this particular video, is getting you to hone in on what is your promise to yourself, what is your self-trust issues in terms of the commitments that you've made. So take 2 weeks and pay attention to the things that you do. What do you listen to in the radio on your commute? What do you put time towards during your day? What kind of television do you watch, or what kind of articles do you read? In other words, what topics are you committed to learning more about? What behaviors are you interested in investing in? If you're eating the Snickers every single day and you're not exercising, you're probably more committed to comfort and familiarity and convenience than you are to health. That's what that's going to tell you. There's no shame, there's no judgment in any of this. It's just getting to identify what you are actually committed to so that you can then change that commitment if you decide to. That level of self-awareness is going to be key in creating those changes within ourselves. Then we can start to think about how to change it with other people. But let's start with ourselves first. So we're going to take 2 weeks, and you're going to pay attention to what you're doing, and then the language of what kind of commitment that means. If you sit at dinner time on your phone and don't pay attention to someone you're having dinner with, are you committed to having meaningful conversation? Probably not. That's probably indicating something else. And again, not a point of attention, in terms of judgment, but a point of attention in terms of being able to be self-aware and make changes as you see fit going into the new year. So I hope this was helpful to you. I will follow up with another video later on what it means to have those commitments externally facing and how to make that a different process for us, because that gets a little bit more into how people define those commitments and those observable behaviors. So the other person has a role in that as well. This is just about us and how we get to trust ourselves better and make those changes for ourselves to make our lives better. So as always, I'm committed to making you a stronger and better you. And if you like what you're seeing here, hit subscribe. Feel free to add any comments or questions to the comment section. We always answer them. And until next time, be well.